take a look at what those were. First, there's the Alien Enemies Act, and this one is a slightly lighter font because it was not debated. There was no great objection to it. It said, look, we're at war. The president can detain any alien nationals of a hostile power. I don't think that was invoked. I don't believe that act has ever been invoked, but I think it is still in the books. I may be wrong about that. The Naturalization Act, passed by one vote, overwhelmingly Federalist, increased the waiting period for citizenship to 14 years, and introduced a registration system for all white aliens, which is obviously not a nice thing to do. Then the act concerning aliens, which Albert Gallatin called the Alien Friends Act. Gallatin is Jefferson's Secretary of the Treasury later on. He's a Swiss immigrant and has clearly a great sense of humor because this is not a very friendly act, but he said, we have an Alien Enemies Act, this must be the Alien Friends Act. And it says that the president can deport any non-citizen whose continuance within the U.S. shall be, in the opinion of the president, injurious to public peace and safety. And this is something that Democratic Republicans strenuously, very, very strenuously object to. And the reason that they very strenuously object to is that Article 1, Section 9. This is a right granted to the states. It's not 1808 yet. And Article 1, Section 9 says that the migration and importation of such persons as any state now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited by Congress. And deportation is a lot like prohibiting importation. And this is in fact meaningless. If obviously the president can deport people that he chooses, that's meaningless. So, interestingly here, when we talk about the act concerning aliens, the Democratic Republicans are strenuously objecting to a point of states' rights. Right? It's not because they love immigrants that they are objecting to this, but they very much love states' rights. They're very much concerned about the growing power of the federal government. They're very much concerned about the central government amassing more and more power. They don't like a strong central government. They like state governments. Nonetheless, any immigrants watching saw that as rather like that outcome. Right? Okay. And finally, the more important one, that passed altogether, was the Sedition Act of 1798. And this is one that makes it a crime to write, print, utter, or publish anything which might be false, scandalous, or malicious. False, scandalous, and malicious against the government of the U.S., either House of Congress or the president. But specifically left out here is the vice president, who is Jefferson at the time. So the Sedition Act is interesting in a number of ways. It first shows how little faith the Federalists have in free speech. We like to think that the roots of free speech, which of course are in the First Amendment, go way back. We like to think that they were held as kind of as a central part of our creed. But it's not so clear. The Sedition Act of 1798 follows from the notion similar to something that perhaps, let's see if I have, that Hamilton said. He'd say, no character, however upright, is a match for constantly reiterated attacks, however false. The public mind becomes fatigued and eventually embraces the opinion that a person so often accused cannot be entirely innocent. Right? So it's a somewhat more nuanced view. The Sedition Act resulted in the arrest and imprisonment of 25 people. 24 of them were newspaper editors, all of the Democratic Republican persuasion, and one of them was Matthew Lyon, who is a congressman from Vermont and has the distinction of being the only person ever elected to Congress from jail. He was reelected. He's also the only person, I believe, who Congress tried to expel twice, and he is he's a very interesting character. If you're searching for someone interesting to write about for an honors thesis or something, he's one worth looking up. He's of Scotch-Irish descent, and so in this case, he is upholding a stereotype that was strongly felt by Pennsylvanians at this time. But he said something. He said that John Adams belonged in an insane asylum, and that's why they threw him in jail. And interestingly, his defense, he was very surprised to find his defense, which was that what he said was true, was not upheld. And this was argued at the time that people were being imprisoned for saying things that were political opinions. And where the Federalist judges, all the judges at this time were Federalists because all the presidents had been Federalists so far, so all the judges who had been appointed were Federalists, and they all ruled, curiously, that the free speech right in the First Amendment was not only covered prior restraint. It meant that the government could not stop you from saying something, but it didn't mean that the government couldn't punish you after you said it. And that's a twisted, that's an argument that's based on English common law, but ignores the precedent set in New York that I mentioned, the John Peter Zenger trial. It was not seen as good law at the time. It was seen very political, and it was a very unfortunate piece of history. Nonetheless, the result of all of this was the Revolution of 1880, in which, most importantly, Jefferson is elected president, and that spells the end pretty much for Federalist presidents. The Sedition Act expires. It was made to expire. It expired the day that Jefferson took office, and that's because the Federalists didn't want the Democratic Republicans to use this act against them. They didn't want all their newspaper editors in jail. Alien Friends Act also expired, and the Naturalization Act of 1798 is repealed in 1802, which restored the provisions of 1795. And again, another way in which the Democratic Republicans endeared themselves to immigrants. And this is particularly important. This we'll see is very, very important. As immigration starts to take off in the early 1800s, a very large fraction of the new immigrants are going to flock to the Democratic Republican Party. And as we'll see in the run-up to the Civil War, this means that the party of the South, the party of slavery, has a very large number of immigrants in its pocket. That's a really odd alliance and a very important one for the onslaught of the Civil War. Nonetheless, in 1801, first annual message to Congress, I have this quote from Jefferson, who I say sounds a little more like Thomas Paine than in the reading from 1780s. Shall we refuse the unhappy, sorry Tom, fugitives from distress? That hospitality which the savages of the wilderness extended to our fathers arriving in this land? Shall oppressed humanity find no asylum on this globe? Asylum even. That the Constitution indeed has wisely provided for the admission to certain offices of important trust. The residents shall be required sufficient to develop character and design, but might not the general character and capabilities of a citizen be safely communicated to everyone manifesting bona fide purpose of embarking his life and fortunes permanently with us. Recall, Jefferson was saying, do we need immigrants? Remember in the reading on the notes on the state of Virginia? We don't really need immigrants. We can wait. Now that politics have played out, Jefferson is a very big booster of immigrants. again, as I said, is because circumstances may play a bigger role than ideology when we come to immigration politics. Are there any questions? Okay, then that's the end of our section on the colonial period. It's also the end of the 18th century. So we're starting now in a new unit, the pre-industrial period, the 19th century, yes? Oh, the John Adams, sorry. He's president from 1796 to 1800. Okay. So since we're starting a new unit, I think I'll start by asking you some questions. Okay, just as in the first period, these are questions that are largely trivial. I don't expect you to know the answer. If you do, that would be really great. I'll be impressed. But it gives us an opportunity, I think, to take a look at what's coming in the 19th century. The 19th century is a period of great optimism as the Enlightenment really takes root. We'll see a tremendous amount of economic growth, lots of new inventions like electricity, and huge numbers of immigrants. Okay, so my first question, how many Europeans immigrated from Europe between 1820 and 1920, roughly? Give me a number. Come on. Yes. Give me a higher number. 3 million. 30 million. Give me a higher number. Did you see that 2 in a row? Yes. Smaller number. 55 million is a good estimate. Some estimates run a little bit higher. About 33 million of those came to the U.S. The rest of them went to lots of other places like Australia and like South America. Interestingly, the European population in 1800 was only about 200 million. So that 55 million people left over the century did not put much of a dent in its population growth. It was 400 million by 1900. Europe is growing a lot, and that's the story we're going to tell next week with demographic transition. Okay, which country sent the largest number of immigrants to the U.S. in the 19th century? Which is the biggest immigrant sending country? Which is the biggest? That's good. Good answer, but how about a better answer? How about another answer? Yes. Nope. Try again. No, Russia's not until the very end of the century. Yes. Very good. Germans. And the second biggest was Ireland. Those two sent 2/3. Between them, 2/3. I don't think, probably not until 1880 is there a year in which one of those doesn't send more than half. Those are by far, the migration is very much dominated by those countries. That's a big difference between the 19th century and the 20th centuries. We'll see. Very much. Now, within that group of Germans, that's of course very diverse. Those are German speakers. There's not a Germany proper until 1871. But still, there's a certain homogeneity to the migrant stream. They wouldn't have seen it then. But compared to today, we have immigrants from many more places, like, for example, Asia. In 1850, what percentage of New York City's population was foreign-born? Yes, it's another number question. Very close. 47.2. Chicago had 50% foreign-born, but Chicago is quite a bit smaller town. There's about 800,000 people in New York. And that's also typical. By the middle of the 19th century, most immigrants are coming to the cities. In the early parts, we'll see it's very much a rural-to-rural migration. But as Iowa fills up, more and more immigrants are going to stay in cities. There's also differences between the Germans and Irish. The Irish are much more likely to stay in cities. Germans are much more likely to be rural. By what year were the last tax and property requirements for voting lifted? What year did America really become a democracy? Yes? That's pretty close. How about a little earlier? Who can think of a year that's earlier than 1860? Come on. This isn't hard. Yes? That's pretty good. Technically it's 1850, but virtually all of them came off in the 1830s. And the interesting thing about that is that while the property restrictions were being lifted, new restrictions on free blacks were being imposed. That's got interesting political consequences, and it follows from what I just said about the Democratic Republicans having immigrants in their pockets. Because the Democrats have the Irish vote, very much in their interest to enfranchise the poor. Because the Irish are poor, they're going to vote for Jefferson and his political descendants. But the last thing they want to do is enfranchise free blacks. So they often in the same legislation, they will enfranchise the poor and disenfranchise free blacks. All this around 1830. Who was the first president who was not born in Massachusetts or Virginia? Yes. Very good. And where was Andrew Jackson born? What? Well, they think they know. They think he was born in South Carolina, but he left South Carolina early, and he's mostly known to be from Tennessee. Very good. Okay, in the 1850s, there was a remarkably successful third party whose platform was strongly anti-immigrant. Their candidate in 1854 was Millard Fillmore, the presidential candidate Millard Fillmore. What was the party called? Yes. No, not a bad guess. Yes. Very good. Who said that? Yes, they were the Know Nothings. Also, they're actually called the American Party, but they knew them. They were called the Know Nothings because they grew out a secret order, and whenever anybody asked them about it, they always said, "I know nothing." They could have perhaps come up with a better name than that, but they were apparently proud of it. Go figure. What happened to Anthony Burns in Boston in 1854? Anthony Burns. This is pretty obscure. Anyone have a clue? Yeah. He shot. No, he did not. But he could have. Yes. Probably. Good catch. Anthony Burns was a runaway slave who worked in a clothing store in Boston and was recaptured and made an example of for the Fugitive Slave Law of 1850. It was a very incendiary event because Boston was full of Whigs at the time. Whigs ran the spectrum. Some of them were abolitionists, most were not. But after the draconian provisions of the Fugitive Slave Law were imposed, and imposed only by calling out those regiments of the militia who were virtually entirely Irish, it turned Boston very much in the abolitionist direction. So it was a big event, a big symbolic event. Okay. How many electoral votes did Abraham Lincoln get from states that would eventually secede? Another number. How hard can these be? Yes. Very good. Yes. It was not even on the ballot. Which, that after Lincoln was elected, states began to secede quite quickly, which only makes the point, which somehow been lost on many people, that the Civil War was all about slavery. We'll see the details about that, but there's been a lot of revisionist history that makes people think there were maybe some other deeper economic causes, but without slavery, there was no Civil War. Immigrants from which country are best known for picture brides? Yes. Very good. Yes. Yes. The Japanese were the way the anti-Japanese sentiment unfolded was very different from the Chinese. The Chinese suffered from the Chinese Exclusion Act, which prevented all migration from China. The Japanese were a more powerful country, and we'll see the politics are more interesting. Their immigration was eventually restricted by something called the Gentleman's Agreement, which was not passed by Congress, but was negotiated by Teddy Roosevelt and the Japanese administration at the time. And one of the things that it allowed was for the wives of residents to come. And so this was a big deal. It meant that while at the time many Japanese immigrants were men, they were able to bring their wives over, and the Japanese were able to have a community that was composed ultimately of families. It's one of the reasons that the Japanese turned out to be a lot more successful in that era than the Chinese, who were very limited and very much a 10-to-1 sex ratio, as you'll see soon in Lab 2. All right. Okay, I think we have time perhaps for one more. Okay, during which year in the 19th century was the percentage of the U.S. population that lived on farms the highest? What year in the 19th, which of the years of the 19th century were the farm population highest as a proportion of U.S. population? Okay. How can you go wrong? Yeah. Good try. Earlier. Earlier. I'm getting good at this, yeah. Right. Or 1800, depending on which you think was the first year of the 19th century. Yes, during the 19th century, urbanization is on the march. Every year, fewer and fewer as a percentage of cities are growing. The farms are already shrinking. Okay, thanks very much. We'll see you Friday.